Canada's aluminum is heading to Europe in record volumes. American manufacturers are paying some of the highest aluminum costs in the world. And what was intended to strengthen domestic industry may be producing a very different outcome. As tariffs collide with tightening global supply and Europe's growing demand for low-carbon metals, the consequences are beginning to spread through manufacturing, supply chains, and even the automotive industry. Welcome back to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit. Today, we're examining how a 50% aluminum tariff helped trigger a global aluminum power shift, and why the effects could eventually reach everything from pickup trucks and SUVs to the next generation of EVs. Number 5. Record aluminum costs. Automakers feel the squeeze. Tariffs are often promoted as a way to make foreign producers pay more. In reality, many of the costs are landing on American manufacturers and consumers. By early June 2026, all-in U.S. aluminum costs had climbed to roughly $6,200 per ton, creating pressure across industries ranging from aerospace to construction. For automakers, the timing is especially difficult. Companies are already dealing with EV investment costs, software development expenses, and affordability concerns. Aluminum remains essential for pickup trucks, SUVs, EV battery enclosures, suspension systems, and lightweight body structures. Higher prices leave manufacturers with few attractive options: absorb the costs, pressure suppliers, redesign components, or increase vehicle prices. Ultimately, many consumers could end up paying more without ever realizing aluminum played a role. But rising costs alone don't explain why aluminum has become such a prized commodity. To understand that, we need to look at the global supply pressures reshaping the market. Number 4. Europe scrambles, aluminum supplies grow tighter. Europe's aluminum challenge developed from several problems arriving at once. The region has been reducing dependence on Russian aluminum while also coping with years of high energy costs and smelter shutdowns. Then, renewed instability in the Middle East added fresh uncertainty to global supply chains. Since the region represents a meaningful share of worldwide aluminum production, even limited disruptions can have major consequences. Europe suddenly found itself competing for reliable supplies at a time when availability was tightening. As demand increased, aluminum premiums surged across both Europe and the United States. Ironically, America became one of the world's most expensive aluminum markets. For automakers, this matters because aluminum is now a core material in EV platforms, truck frames, battery structures, and lightweight vehicle engineering. And as Europe searched for dependable supplies, one country found itself in an increasingly powerful position: Canada. Number 3. Canada's aluminum advantage. Europe wants more. Canada's advantage extends far beyond production volume. Much of the country's aluminum is produced using Quebec's vast hydroelectric power network, resulting in a significantly lower carbon footprint than many competing sources. That makes Canadian aluminum increasingly attractive to European automakers, aerospace firms, and manufacturers seeking cleaner and more secure supply chains. Trade patterns are already shifting. Canada's share of U.S. aluminum imports has declined compared with previous years, while shipments to Europe have increased substantially. A major reason is a concept known as netback, the actual profit producers keep after transportation costs, tariffs, and fees are deducted. Even if U.S. prices appear higher, tariffs can reduce profitability. Canada hasn't abandoned the American market, but it now has alternatives. And alternatives create leverage. But Canada's growing leverage didn't appear overnight. To understand how this shift gained momentum, we need to go back to the decision that helped set everything in motion. Number 2. Tariff shockwaves, global aluminum trade redirected. The story begins with a major assumption: that Canada had few alternatives to the U.S. market. For decades, Canadian aluminum flowed into American automakers, aerospace firms, construction projects, and manufacturers across the economy. When tariffs rose to 50%, many expected those shipments to continue unchanged. But markets rarely follow political expectations. As selling into the United States became less profitable, Canadian producers began exploring other destinations. Europe, facing growing supply shortages, quickly emerged as an attractive option. The tariff didn't simply raise prices, it changed where producers chose to send their metal. For automakers, that matters greatly. Aluminum is critical for EV battery enclosures, body panels, wheels, suspension components, and lightweight truck architectures. This is no longer just a trade dispute. It's a battle over access to a vital industrial resource. And that may be the most important lesson of this entire story. Markets often adapt faster than policymakers expect, but the biggest consequences may still lie ahead. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this breakdown of how trade policy, critical materials, and the automotive industry are becoming increasingly interconnected, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Here at Piston Pundit, we continue tracking the developments shaping the future of vehicles, manufacturing, supply chains, and global industry. Now let's examine why this shift could continue long after today's headlines fade. Number 1. Canada's strategic pivot, a lasting trade shift. The biggest development isn't that more Canadian aluminum is heading to Europe. It's that long-term supply chains are beginning to change. Once manufacturers qualify suppliers, sign contracts, establish logistics networks, and integrate materials into production, those relationships often last for years. Supply chains have memory. Companies invest heavily in trusted partnerships and rarely abandon them without a compelling reason. Canada now holds several advantages that global buyers increasingly value: reliable supply, lower carbon production powered largely by hydroelectric energy, and access to both Atlantic and North American markets. For the automotive industry, the implications are significant. Future EV platforms, lightweight trucks, battery systems, charging infrastructure, and advanced manufacturing all depend on stable access to industrial metals. The US remains a major customer, but Canada now has more options, and that changes the balance of future negotiations. And that brings us to the larger question. Are we witnessing a temporary adjustment or the emergence of a new global aluminum order? Verdict: the new global aluminum power balance. The aluminum story of 2026 is about far more than tariffs. It's about supply chain resilience, industrial competitiveness, and control over critical materials. While the 50% tariff was designed to strengthen domestic production, it has also increased costs for many American manufacturers while encouraging Canadian producers to expand their customer base. At the same time, Europe's search for reliable low-carbon aluminum has created opportunities that barely existed a few years ago. For automakers, the stakes are considerable. Aluminum remains essential for lightweight pickup trucks, fuel-efficient SUVs, EV battery structures, and next-generation vehicle platforms. If elevated US costs persist while Europe deepens its relationships with Canadian suppliers, future vehicle pricing and manufacturing decisions could be affected. So now we'd like to hear from you. Did the 50% aluminum tariff strengthen American industry or create unintended consequences? Will Canada's growing aluminum trade with Europe become a permanent shift in global supply chains? Could higher aluminum costs eventually lead to more expensive vehicles for consumers? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. We always enjoy hearing perspectives from the Piston Pundit community. And if you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next vehicle update, automotive industry report, and major developments shaping the future of transportation. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's plenty more to explore.